So far, we have been working with Django and only manipulating HTML5 and getting plain text responses. However, we probably want to include other things in our project, such as, say, CSS files, JS files, images, and so on and so forth. In fact, if we do start our project, let me just do that. So, as I said, always remember to start your environment before doing anything else. So if we go to our app and we start it, right? So if we do that and start our server, just wait for Chrome to load up. Right, it's here. So if we go out here and we check out what we had, okay. So you see this is where we are the last time. If we check it out, then we will quickly notice that this file actually has nothing, like we do not have any JS or CSS on it. However, let's quickly check out the admin side of it. So I'm gonna go and duplicate this one. Let's check the admin side. Alright, so looking at the admin side, we can clearly see that this has a lot going on. For example, we have a lot of JS here, we have CSS, all this stuff that make all this look also nice and good, right? So you can do all manner of dynamic stuff. So if you want to do this for our own project, first thing you need to see how to load static files in Django. So that's provided in the documentation. So we look, so see the first thing we see, we need to put in a static URL. So let's start by doing that. Okay, so I'm gonna start up my IDE right there. Put first up settings. Right now, usually static URL ships as a default here. However, if yours doesn't have, then of course make sure that you have added that particular setting. So what it does, that it tells Django that your files gonna be accessed static A by doing static, then the file name, right, the URL. But we'll see that a bit later. Alright, so you can see also how it's being done here. So Django will do this for you automatically, right? So we have that done. The next thing we need to define, as we're being told here, is the static files dir. Now this is basically tells us where the files are going to be, right? So in our case, we want to go right ahead and say we want our files to be, let's say in the main project. So we want them to be here. So say we want them to be in something, say called static. So we're gonna create a new folder called static. So you're gonna have all our files in this static folder, right? So we go right ahead and set up what Django is telling us to do. So we need to set up our static files dir. So I'm just gonna go right ahead and copy that. Come back here, paste it in. Okay, so far so good. Okay, so see, this will work because we have this as the base dir. So this is our base dir, and then we have given in the folder static. So we do not need this because this line here, because we are not running this server, so we do not need that, right? But if you're running that server, of course, you might want that. Okay, so that's all we need to do. To specify what we want in our stat. Sorry, let me just do this. Right. To specify, this is line 111. Sorry, it should not be there. Awesome. Alright. So to make sure that you can load any files that are currently provided there. Next thing, we need to load in our static root. our static root is where Django is gonna collect all the files and put them in, right? So that they can be served much more easily. If you want to serve it using, say for example, Apache, not serve it directly from another server, even if it's an S3 instance or something of that sort, then Django compiles them and put them in one place so that you can easily prepare them for deployment, right? So to do that, we are gonna do something else. So we're gonna create that. So we're gonna call it, let's say, static for production. Or yeah, let's just call it static for production. Right. So once you've done that, we need to specify this part, right? So let's come back here, yank this out, and paste it inside there. Okay. Then we're gonna change the word here. We're gonna change the wording here so that now instead of just static, we're gonna have static for production. Alright. So far so good. Now once we have that done, we need to actually make sure that you can load our files. So for that to happen, we need to add in the URL to our URLs file. So we need to go to our URL, which is here. Okay. Then we need to import some stuff. So in addition to this, we're gonna do more things here. So we're gonna do from Django.conf, we're gonna import something. So first thing we're gonna import is settings. So this allows us to get the settings that you've just put in. So we're gonna include URL, that's already there. So we're gonna import static as well. Now we can't continue checking what Django says here. So this is it, what I was talking about. You can just go right ahead and just copy paste that and save ourselves the hassle of typing it out. Right. So far so good. I need to have it 19. Sorry, two imports here. Not necessary. So right now we go right ahead and add our URL patterns using this unitary operator. We pass in static, then we pass in our URL, which of course we get from the setting. Then we pass in our document root. Our document root is actually the settings static root, which we had set in earlier. So now let's try putting something in. So let's just create a file. Say call it my image, or just call it an image. Image.c text, just so that you can easily see it. Right? And then you're gonna serve that particular instance. Once you have that set up, the next thing you need to do is you need to run this. So manage.py collect static, which actually you can look at what it does. This. Okay. Sorry. Alright, so you can do that. So this is what it does. It collects all your static files into one location. This is awesome, of course, for your production environment. So let's run that, see what happens. Okay, so write it. Yes. Okay, so it's telling us we have an error, or not a tuple. Yeah, so of course Django requires this, so it requires you to have a trailing comma, particularly in this particular area, just to make sure that it's actually a tuple, right? So that's one of the language quirks, right? So let's go right ahead and run that again. Then you do yes. Now it has worked. So what that has just done, that it has pulled in all our files and put it here. You might have noticed that we had all these things coming in from the admin side, which we didn't know where they're coming in. Here they are now. So now if you actually to navigate to our production file, which we're calling this one, you actually see all your files here, including our image file, right? So let's see if we can access that on our browser. So if you want to go to localhost, then we go to static, then we go to image.text. That's what we called it, right? Alright. So just doesn't have anything right now. So let's put something to it so that we can confirm that that change happened. Okay. So this is your first static file. Okay, good to go. So as usual, every time you make a change here in your statics, then you must make sure that you run this so that your files are included. Alright, sorry. Okay, so let's do that and run it again. Okay, so only one was modified. Then you can reload and voila, a change has been made. Okay, so let's do that. Let's get our first static file in. Or actually, what you're gonna do so that you can at least have some something that you can look up to, you're gonna upload an image. So you're gonna look for a random image. Forget about Pixar, it's gonna give us issues. So just literally gonna look for a random image. Okay, so you're gonna get this image, then you're gonna download it. So let's go to the capture. Alright, so we want this image. We need to open it. So now we are gonna save this in our where we usually do our trainings. Sorry, we're gonna save this in our projects so that we can be able to go right ahead and use it. Right. So we are gonna save it here. This is where our files are. And for simplicity, I just leave it as dices.png. Save it. So just look for this particular file and we save it just like that. Make sure we have it here, so you can check. Okay, so we have it here. Now you notice that if you have not, if you do not run the collect, nothing happens. So okay, so yeah, so we need to now make sure all our files are there. Okay, now of course in our test environment this is gonna work one way or another, but in production we need to make sure that we have run this part first. So in certain services such as Heroku, this part is automatically run for you. So if you deploy your application and it has files, then this will automatically get run and your files will be available. Right, so your files will become available like that. So let's do that. Let's do that. Let's see you in the next video.